Bundle up, Toronto. A deep freeze bearing down on the city with wind chill values expected to remain in the -20s throughout the day. Good afternoon. A cold warning is in effect for Toronto and the GTA. Environment Canada warning of possible frostbite within minutes if your skin is exposed to the elements. And there is increased concern for vulnerable populations, including people experiencing homelessness in this extreme cold. The city adding additional shelter spaces for those in need of a warm place to go. CTV's Beth Macdonell joins us live from outside one of the city's warming centers. Beth.
Natalie, we're still in the deep freeze, but the sun is coming out now and then, which is nice. Today, we're at one of the City of Toronto's surge sites to keep people warm, the Jimmy Simpson Recreation Centre. And this place, this warming centre, has capacity for 30 people. It's pet friendly, has showers and resting spaces available. Other surge sites in the city are John Innes Community Centre near Sherbourne and Queen, and the Cecil Community Centre near College and Spadina. All three of these sites are opened when it's -15 degrees or colder. As this polar vortex lingers, though, it seems from the people we're speaking with around the city that many are making the best of it.
Definitely dress in layers and try to stay as indoor as possible. I would say that's the best solution to this.
I don't think it's so bad. I like that. In general, the snow is cleared quite quickly and you can just get on with your life. It's a little cold and a little snowy, but I quite enjoy it.
It's cold, but if you dress properly, it's okay. Yeah, it could be worse, but it's not so bad.
You know what? I like to think it toughens us up a little bit. So I'm not going to complain too much, but it is quite cold.
Having been out in this freezing cold for the past few days, I can tell you it's really the wind that bites when you're out in it for an extended time. There are 5 other warming centers around the city in addition to the 3 surge sites, including downtown, in Scarborough and North York. And some of these warming centers also offer meals, and they are open 24 hours right now if anyone needs a break from this bitter cold. Reporting live, I'm Beth Macdonell. Natalie, back to you.
All right, thank you, Beth. Stay warm. And following Sunday's record snowfall, city crews continue to work around the clock to remove massive snowbanks from residential streets. Nearly 1,500 workers have been deployed, and 5 dump sites where the snow is being melted are operating at full capacity. The city says the focus will continue to be on removing snow from residential streets, as well as highway ramps, bridge decks, and hospital routes. A blitz on removing snow from school bus loading zones will also take place overnight, tonight, and through the weekend. Yes, crews have been working all week long to clear this record-breaking snow, and along with it, relentless cold that has intensified in recent days. Jessica Smith is monitoring the numbers, and how low can they go, Jess?
Oh, they can go low, Michelle. And a beautiful shot there of the water. And a reminder to everybody when it comes to safety, yes, it looks like the ice is really frozen, but it's not terribly thick. So it's just not advised to ever go on ice when it hasn't been tested. I know it looks cool and people see things online on social media, but you have to be really careful. So this is your safety reminder. But it can go low with those wind chills. It still feels close to -25, -30 through southern Ontario, the GTA, and that includes the downtown core. The further east you go, the colder it is. It feels closer to -35. Frostbite can happen in minutes with any exposed skin. So as Beth mentioned, you have to be really careful and check on the more vulnerable people in our population. Now, temperature-wise, right across southern Ontario, we're in that mid-10 range for our base temperature. The good news is it's not terribly windy throughout the day today, overnight, and into the start of the day tomorrow. But that doesn't mean it isn't going to be any less cold. We just don't also have to contend with really strong winds. We are looking at -13 through the islands through Pearson, a little sunnier through Pearson, but that wind chill still into the -20s, and that continues as you make our way in towards the evening as well. Coming up, a full look at your long-range forecast, including a return to a somewhat seasonal point. But right now, I'll send things back over to Natalie.
Okay, thanks, Jess. A 29-year-old woman is dead after being struck by a truck in Brampton last night. Peel police say the woman was hit by the truck while crossing the intersection at Queen Street and McLaughlin Road just before 6 o'clock. She was taken to hospital where she died from her injuries. The driver was stopped a short distance from the scene by police who happened to be in the area. They're working to determine if the driver knew that they had struck someone.
Circumstances surrounding the collision are under investigation, and part of that is obviously the question that we have, the investigators in the Major Collision Bureau, are whether or not the driver of that cube van did realize that they had been involved in a collision. The driver of the cube van was stopped by police who happened to be in the area. So that'll obviously be part of the investigation that will unfold.
Peel police are asking for witnesses or anyone who was in the area and has dash cam footage to come forward.
One person was sent to hospital after a multi-vehicle crash in North York last night. This happened on the ramp from Weston Road to the westbound 401 just after 8:30. OPP say up to 4 vehicles were involved here. Paramedics say a man was taken to hospital with serious injuries. The cause of this crash is being investigated.
In Halton Region, police are looking for 5 suspects after a smash and grab robbery at a Burlington pawn shop. Shortly before 5 p.m. yesterday, a gray Honda CRV reversed through the front door of a buy and sell city location on Fairview Street. Police say 4 to 5 suspects entered the store and smashed display cases with hammers before making off with several items of jewelry. The CRV, which police say was stolen from Toronto, was left behind, and the suspects left the scene in a dark-colored sedan. No injuries were reported. The business was assessed for structural damage and has since been deemed safe.
While the snow and cold have been top of mind for city officials, the February 1st deadline is also approaching for the mayor to finalize her 2026 budget plan. Public consultations took place this month. Mayor Chow was in Midtown this morning at the Stanley Knowles Housing Cooperative, highlighting funding in the budget aimed at helping thousands of vulnerable seniors age safely at home. They include expanding access to air conditioning, rental supplements, and supportive cleaning and nursing services.
They live in quiet desperation and face long waits for home care, seniors housing that is affordable, or long-term care, or PSW, personal support workers that can come and help them. They go to payday loans and get into serious debt, or they turn down the heat. They don't go out and face loneliness because they don't have the money for public transit. We as a society have a duty to assist them to age at home with respect, security, and dignity.
The mayor also repeated her intention to limit property tax increases to 2.2%. Toronto Council will meet to consider the budget on February 10th.
There are some major subway service disruptions on the TTC's weekend schedule to be aware of, so crews can carry out planned maintenance work. Line 1 trains will not operate between St. George and St. Andrews stations from 11 p.m. tonight all the way to the start of service Monday morning. Wheel-Trans service will be available, but shuttle buses won't be running. The TTC says customers can instead take surface routes or transfer to the Yonge side of the line. Replacement buses will be running along Shepherd Saturday and Sunday as crews carry out signal work on Line 4.
And a heads up for drivers. Sections of the Don Valley Parkway and Gardiner Expressway will be closed this weekend for infrastructure work. The southbound DVP will be closed starting at Bayview, while the eastbound lanes of the Gardiner will be shut from Bay Street. Several on-ramps in the area will also be closed. Metrolink says this closure is needed so the first section of the future Lower Don Bridge can be put in place, a key step towards building the Ontario Line subway. We're learning more about an Ontario charity that's now under investigation by the OPP.
It received money from a scandal-plagued government fund, and a W5 investigation found that donated clothes that it received didn't end up where you might expect. CTV's John Woodward reports.
Jake's House was a resource for families with autistic children, offering housing in a facility north of London, Ontario, and community.
It's a wonderful opportunity for families who have members that have autism.
That facility closed last year after Ontario's Ministry of Children, Community and Social Services ended a $9.3 million funding agreement with the charity. The 27 residents sent packing.
I wish we could stay here for another couple of years, but it's really emotional to me.
Exactly why that funding was pulled was a mystery then, but this week it emerged that Ontario's Treasury Board Secretariat had conducted an audit and referred its findings to the Ontario Provincial Police, which said in a statement they were looking into transfer payments from the ministry, including finances and contracts. Founders Irenka and David Bodanis didn't return CTV's messages for comment. Last year, the charity's executive director insisted she knew of no good reason to be concerned about its finances.
We've done a lot of really good things here at the home, and it's absolutely heartbreaking.
At the time, Jake's House was also receiving $3.5 million from Ontario's Controversial Skills Development Fund, the same fund under a microscope by the legislature's Integrity Commissioner, looking into whether Labour Minister David Piccini played favourites while doling out grants to his party's friends and donors. It's the second police investigation into a Skills Development Fund recipient. Jake's House was also featured in a W5 series in 2024, looking into clothing donation bins. Through tracking, W5 found that a company collecting donated clothes on the charity's behalf packaged and sold them in bales, some ending up as far away as North Africa. Ontario's opposition leader accusing the province of failing to do proper due diligence into organizations before committing millions of dollars. A government spokesperson says it acted when its standards weren't met, saying the active investigation into this organization demonstrates that these accountability processes are working. Jake's House had plans to reopen. Now its operations are controlled by a receiver in a process supervised by Ontario's Superior Court. John Woodward, CTV News.
Still to come on CTV News at noon, Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre is set to face a leadership vote at his party's convention in Calgary. We'll take you there live in just a few minutes.
But first, U.S. President Donald Trump is threatening to impose steep tariffs on Canadian-made aircraft today, claiming airplane certification has unfairly blocked U.S. jet sales in Canada, while singling out industry giant Bombardier. CTV's Kamal Karmali joins us live from the CTV National Newsroom with the latest on this story. Kamal, we've now heard from Bombardier. What did the aircraft manufacturer have to say to this?
Yeah, Natalie, Trump's words already having a ripple effect on Bombardier, with shares dropping 9% this morning. And the Canadian aircraft manufacturer now saying that they are talking with the Canadian government in terms of how to respond to these tariff threats against the Canadian aircraft manufacturer. They also said that they hope that this is quickly resolved to avoid significant delays and impact to aircraft traffic and the flying public. Now, this all began when U.S. President Donald Trump said that the threat of slapping a 50% tariff on Canadian aircraft is in response to Canada refusing to certify Gulfstream aircraft, which is manufactured in the United States. He said, "We hereby decertify the Bombardier Global Expresses and all aircraft made in Canada until Gulfstream is fully certified," adding that they are going to charge a 50% tariff on any and all aircraft sold in the United States. Worth noting that a number of Gulfstream jets have been certified to some degree by Transport Canada, so what Trump is claiming isn't the whole truth, according to the company's website. And according to Bloomberg, more than half of Bombardier's global fleet operate in the U.S., with 2/3 of its sales coming from the United States. So it would be a devastating blow to the U.S. If, Natalie, this was to go ahead.
And Kamal, does Trump have any authority to decertify aircraft made in Canada? Yeah,
it's a great question, and we usually refer to our CTV aviation experts to answer that question. And the short answer they give us is no. This is well beyond Trump's abilities and powers to be able to certify or decertify aircraft. That is up to the U.S. Federal Aviation Administration, or the FAA. Have a listen to what one aviation expert had to say. This is what Trump had to say yesterday, but now we've heard from CTV's aviation expert on whether Trump has the ability to certify or decertify Canadian-made aircraft.
Honestly, I don't know where the president's getting his information from. The Canadian aircraft have been certified in the U.S. By the FAA. They hold a current type certificate, and they are certified. The only way that the type certificate can be revoked is if there is a safety issue with the aircraft. There's an ongoing accident investigation. So I don't know where his information is coming from. He cannot just arbitrarily just pull a type certificate off an aircraft.
And worth noting that the U.S. military is heavily reliant on Bombardier. So experts also saying any move against Bombardier would sort of be a self-inflicted wound against the United States. It would hurt them as much as it would hurt Canada and Bombardier. Back over to you.
Okay, CTV's Kamal Karmali with the latest on Trump's tariff threat. Thank you.
Anytime.
More than 1,000 workers are out of a job today as GM Oshawa cuts its third shift. Unifor says more than 500 direct jobs at the plant are affected, plus hundreds more at companies that supply the factory. The union says the layoffs are the result of GM shifting operations to the U.S. amid President Donald Trump's trade war. GM originally announced the move last May on the heels of Trump's announcement of tariffs on Canadian-built vehicles.
Members are scared. The morale's terrible in the plant right now. You know, they're worried about how they're going to pay their bills, provide for their families. You know, it's scary. It's not good right now inside that plant.
Ontario Premier Doug Ford has criticized the move, calling the layoffs disappointing. He says the province has a plan to support the affected workers. And the Premier's Progressive Conservative Party is holding its convention this weekend in Toronto.
The PC's banning media from the weekend gathering at the Toronto Congress Centre, which includes a fireside chat with Doug Ford tomorrow. For more on this, we're joined by CTV's Queen's Park Bureau Chief Siobhan Morris. Siobhan, set the stage for us here.
Well, it's pretty quiet at the Toronto Congress Centre right now. We have seen a little burst of activity in the last 30 minutes or so with a lot of staffers and volunteers who will make this convention run start to show up for their jobs. But all quiet here. The event starts really this afternoon. Registration starts at 2, and then you'll start to see members roll in through the afternoon. There's a welcome reception this evening, and then the big event is that fireside chat with the Premier tomorrow night. Of course, media is going to be outside here in the cold, barred from taking any of those events in. Typically, these conventions are a chance for members to really talk about some elements of the party that they're not willing to talk about out in public. And so not having the media inside means that we don't get to hear some of those inner machinations. We don't get to hear some of the points of contention within the PC party. We know that Doug Ford has faced some criticism from some factions over the last year or so, really arguing with the conservative part of the PC brand, saying that they don't see enough from him when it comes to things like tax cuts. They really take issue with the level of spending. Remember, Doug Ford has, in all his time in government, put out bigger and bigger budgets, bigger spending budgets than the previous Liberal government ever did. And so there were some members of the party that were hoping to have some of those frank discussions in the open, push that agenda on the convention floor, but media won't get to participate or witness any of that this weekend. We won't hear a formal speech again from the Premier either, just that fireside chat tomorrow night. Now, the Premier was asked about this earlier this week, and he defended keeping media outside, saying that he, as Premier, is out in front of cameras virtually every other day. That was certainly true this week, and he just says that this is a closed event for the party only and wants to keep it that way. We are, of course, hearing from opposition parties who say that their conventions, even when it comes to policy and deciding the future of direction of their parties, they throw the doors open and people are allowed to participate and witness those discussions. And so they say the Premier should be doing the same, and so should his party. Reporting live from Etobicoke, I'm Siobhan Morris. Michelle, back to you.
Thank you, Siobhan. And turning now to another convention underway, Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre is set to address his party's convention in Calgary ahead of a leadership vote, which is scheduled for this evening. For more on this, let's bring in CTV's Jeremy Charon at the convention in Calgary. He's been there for days now. Jeremy, the leadership vote, it's a mandatory process. Walk us through what's set to happen and what it'll look like and who's involved here.
Yeah, Michelle, look, it's a big day here in Calgary. The vote is happening today, of course. A lot of talk about this evening's vote, and it'll be a long day. The vote is expected pretty late. Pierre Poilievre will speak to the crowd here at 6:30 Mountain Time. After that, there'll be a period in which the delegates are able to vote. As you've touched on, this is happening as a result of the Conservative Constitution. Anytime they lose a federal election, it results in a leadership vote. It happened with Stephen Harper in 2005. That's the last time the party experienced a leadership test like this. That's after Harper had lost the 2004 election. He got 84% support in the vote. And, it's widely expected here that Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre will do well. Many are expecting he'll get a significant result. But what that percentage will be, no one seems to be willing to, touch on whether there's a threshold that he should have to meet. So all eyes will be on what that number will be tonight. And in terms of the process here, we're talking about delegates that have been selected to represent, their Conservative members from ridings across the country. They are the ones who will get to vote and decide whether or not Pierre Poilievre will remain the leader. We've been hearing already, throughout the convention, they launched kind of last night in an opening ceremony, a big push for Pierre to stay on as leader. MPs took the stage and were really, putting their support behind Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre to remain and to be the one to lead them into the next election. And we heard a lot last night about how, happy they were with with the last election result, and you know, talking about the fact they were able to really increase their seat count up to almost 150 seats. Of course, all of that despite the fact they did lose the election, and Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre did lose his seat, had to run a by-election to regain his seat. Nonetheless, they were really focused on what they believed was a very positive result in the election, and making sure Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre is the guy to move forward with. Deputy leader Melissa Lantsman was one of those who took the stage last night and spoke to the crowd. Here's what she had to say.
I'm confident that Pierre, as our leader, we will come out this weekend even stronger, even more united, showing Canadians that we're ready to govern and we are ready to restore the promise of Canada. It is time for hope. It is time for change. And it starts this weekend by standing with Pierre and uniting for Canada.
Now, look, we've been speaking with MPs, grassroots members, delegates that are here over the last couple of days. Seems to be a lot of support for Pierre. A lot of people walking around with vote for Pierre, say yes pins. They're giving out these pins. So people outwardly expressing the fact they will be supporting Mr. Poilievre in this leadership vote. But I also heard from some MPs I was speaking with last night that they're trying to use this convention really as an opportunity to perhaps reset following the last election, really pave a new path for the party moving forward to try and continue to grow and not just be talking about, you know, a positive result in the last election, but rather forming government, because of course that's what they're after. So that's really what I've been hearing from MPs here and members that are here. You know, they're certainly looking at the leadership result, and there's a lot of focus on that, but they're also trying to really decide how the party wants to move forward and how they can try and continue to grow, Michelle.
Look forward to seeing what happens there tonight. CTV's Jeremy Charon live for us in Calgary ahead of the vote tonight. Thank you.
Canada's ban on single-use plastics will remain in place. The Federal Court of Appeal has overturned a lower court decision. In 2023, that lower court ruled Ottawa overstepped in designating all plastic manufactured items as toxic. The government would then later ban the manufacture and import of 6 types of single-use plastics. But today, a 3-judge panel in the appeals court ruled that Ottawa's decision to designate all plastic items as toxic was reasonable.
Stats Canada is out with the latest GDP numbers. Real gross domestic product was flat in November, following a 0.3% decline in October. Stats Can says contractions in goods industries offset expansions in service industries. The agency also says a global semiconductor shortage led to supply bottlenecks in automotive production, which sent durable goods manufacturing to its lowest monthly level since 2011, not including the COVID-19 pandemic. The Canadian government is working to establish trade relations with more countries to lessen our reliance on the U.S. And one of those countries is China, which Donald Trump is clearly not happy about.
Canada is not doing well. They're doing very poorly. And you can't look at China as the answer. I know China very well. I know President Xi's a friend of mine. I know him very well. But that's a big hurdle to go over when you get Canada. The first thing they're going to do is say you're not allowed to play ice hockey anymore. That's not good. Canada's not going to like that.
Prime Minister Carney reached an agreement during his recent visit to Beijing. It allows China to export up to 49,000 electric vehicles a year to Canada at a tariff rate of 6.1%. In return, China reduced its levies on Canadian canola to 15%.
A high-profile American journalist has been arrested in connection with an anti-immigration protest in Minnesota. Don Lemon and 3 other people were taken into custody following his coverage of a protest that disrupted a church service in St. Paul on January 18th. He was later arrested by federal agents in Los Angeles, where he had been covering the Grammy Awards. It is unclear what charge or charges Lemon and the others are facing, but his lawyer says he will fight them vigorously.
There are new developments in the trial of Luigi Mangione. He will no longer face the death penalty for allegedly fatally shooting the CEO of United Healthcare. The judge presiding over this case has dismissed a murder and weapons charges against the 27-year-old. He stands accused of killing United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson in December of 2024. Mangione still faces 2 counts of stalking. Those charges face a maximum sentence of life in prison without parole. The trial is due to begin in October October. Mangione also faces 9 counts in a case brought by New York state prosecutors, including second-degree murder and various weapons charges.
In the Middle East, Israel says it will reopen a key border crossing on Sunday. Israel seized the Rafah border crossing between Gaza and Egypt in May 2024. Reopening it was an important requirement under the first phase of U.S. President Donald Trump's plan to stop fighting between Israel and Hamas. But cargo will not be allowed through, only people. Israel has not said many of Gaza's more than 2 million people will be allowed to cross the border per day. The Israelis say the return of residents from Egypt to the Gaza Strip will be permitted in coordination with Egypt.
Venezuela's acting president has signed a law that opens the nation's oil sector to privatization. Their decision positions the country's oil sector to lure the foreign investment needed to revamp its long-struggling industry. The measure comes less than a month after the seizure of then-President Nicolas Maduro in a U.S. military attack in the Venezuelan capital.
The mission carrying Canadian Jeremy Hansen and 3 other astronauts around the moon has been delayed. The first Artemis flight with a crew is now scheduled for no earlier than Sunday, February 8th, and that is 2 days later than planned because of near freezing temperatures in the forecast. A crucial fueling test is now expected on Monday as the crew remains in quarantine in Houston. Their arrival at Kennedy Space Center in Florida is uncertain at this time. NASA has only a handful of days any given month to launch its first lunar crew in more than half a century.
Well, no surprise here, no change. It is still very cold, and we're still under a cold warning here in the city of Toronto and across the GTA. Heading into the afternoon, lots of sunshine out there, but we will see the clouds start to push their way in, and still the slight chance of a passing flurry thanks to, you guessed it, lake effect snow. Coming up, we'll have a full look at your long-range forecast. We do see a slight return to, well, close to seasonal, but we're not going to quite get there as we head in towards the first few days of February. Your full forecast coming up.
Welcome back. Well, it is a frigid Friday out there. We were just talking about Beth's optimism earlier when she said at least the sun is out, but it sure is cold.
It's not doing anything. I noticed, I don't know about at your kids' school today, but there wasn't any lining up. Everybody was just get inside.
Straight inside.
Yeah, and even if you're bundled up, it still feels cold.
It does, and you have to really kind of think about the amount of time you're spending outside. If you want to get active or go skating, maybe limit that time. You don't have to stop all activities, but you really have to consider how cold it is and how quickly frostbite can happen. And even if you're layered up accordingly, it's still a challenge. Weather is brought to you by the Presler Law Firm. Injury lawyers, you don't pay unless they win. Again, as to Beth's point, it is sunny out there, but it ain't warm sunshine. And if you're standing inside, it looks really nice from inside, but it is cold. So consider limiting your time outdoors for yourself, your pets. If you're waiting for transit, there are a number of different apps and things you can use to time it all out so you're not waiting outside for longer than you need to. But it is Friday. We are in the final Friday of January, and things do get a little better as we head in towards February. But those wind chill values between minus 25 and minus 30 almost right across southern Ontario. We've seen a few of them drop out towards Windsor, through Goderich, Owen Sound, and Perry Sound, but for the majority of us, it is still very cold. And even if you're not under a warning, doesn't mean it's warm, it just means you're not in cold warning criteria. Right now we're sitting at minus 13 here in the city. It feels like minus 22. It's feeling like minus 30 in Ottawa, and it feels like minus 28 in North Bay. It's a little better in Windsor, but they're still feeling like minus 15. They're just not in that cold warning criteria anymore. As we head throughout our day today, we'll see a little cloud cover here and there, but overall not too bad. Our daytime high should be around, again, that minus 2 range. We are nowhere near that. Once again, and those wind chill values still into the minus 20s this afternoon. Tonight it is a little better. We'll be at minus 18, feeling like minus 25. And the big difference is we're not looking at a significantly windy day. Still a northwesterly wind. It's going to be very cold, but at least it's not terribly breezy out there. No real major systems to speak of. We are still dealing with a few troughs in and around the Great Lakes, which will push some lake effect snow in towards the GTA, but nothing significant. Again, we finally get a bit of a break from the really heavy kind of lake effect snow machine we've seen for the majority of the week. Owen Sound, you're still getting kind of the brunt of it to start the day. In towards the early part of our evening, just generally cloudy out there, but overall, we're not dealing with anything as far as extreme weather goes when it comes to precipitation. Just that temperature is extreme. As we head in towards your Saturday, lots of sunshine out there, and we will step in towards the end of the month with at least a nice bright sky. We don't really see a temperature shift until we get in towards Sunday and Monday, and it is closer to seasonal, but we're still not quite there just yet. This big plume of cold air, that polar vortex, those deep kind of pinks and purples and fuchsias, they are still sitting over the majority of the province. We don't really see that shift and that retreat of all that cold air until we get in towards really the beginning of next week. So we still have some time with all this cold. As we get through our day today, though, and into our Saturday, we're still in that minus double-digit territory for your highs and your lows. We get a little better on the positive side, thinking on the positive side as we head in towards the first day of February. We get towards a more seasonal point through Monday and Tuesday, but is short-lived as we see a return to much cooler air once again as we head in towards Wednesday and Thursday. I guess the positive in any of this is, as Beth mentioned earlier, at least it's sunny. Hopefully this helps you plan. Natalie, Michelle, some things back to you guys.
Thinking on the sunny side. Thanks, Jess.
Thanks.
Well, this winter has already been a harsh one. Historic amounts of snow in some parts of Canada.
And that has meant using a lot of salt to melt it all, and that's led to a shortage in parts of our province. CTV's Adrian Gabriel has those details.
Goderich, Ontario is home to the world's largest underground salt mine, and yet the province is grappling with a short supply.
If we get into a bad ice storm, we could easily run out of salt.
An essential commodity during the harsh Canadian winter, reserves are running low across multiple Ontario municipalities. The city of Pickering says its dwindling salt stock must be used carefully to help ensure supply lasts through the remainder of the winter.
The road salt shortage means that multiple private companies and municipalities are having to do this with their limited inventory. Take their road salt and mix it with sand to try and stretch out their supply.
Dave Giroux's large contracting company is facing the same issue as Ontario's municipalities.
What is your fear?
That we're going to run out of salt. We service hospitals, we service government buildings, we service airports. So we have contracts that have high liability.
Giroux believes we're experiencing supply chain issues, not a shortage.
It does seem odd that we have the biggest salt mine in the world and we can't get salt here.
Distributors are having to send trucks to the port in Montreal, where long lines are reported to pick up salt brought in from Egypt and Morocco. In Goderich this week, more than 100 empty trucks line the roads outside of the mine that has the capacity to produce 9 million tons of salt per year. It's owned by Compass Minerals, an American company, and large lake freighters are shipping Canadian salt from the mine to the United States, all while there's a reported shortage in Ontario.
I wish the government would intervene.
Good morning, everyone.
CTV News reached out to Ontario's Premier, whose office didn't respond by our deadline. A statement from Compass Minerals in part reads, "We remain committed to serving all our valued customers in Ontario and all markets that we serve."
Some commercial distributors believe that the supply chain issues being experienced this winter are so bad, they're forecasting a continued shortage into next year. Adrian Gabriel, CTV News, Bradford, Ontario.
Porter Airlines is changing up its route map as the island airport prepares for more flights south of the border. The airline's summer schedule includes a flight to Nashville International Airport from Billy Bishop. The officials say the route will benefit from a new pre-clearance facility at the island airport. Air Canada will also launch its first U.S. routes from the travel hub once it becomes possible for travelers to go through those border checks before takeoff.
Buying a new vehicle these days is expensive, which is why it's helpful to make yours last as long as you can.
A CTV News viewer just set an impressive milestone with his van, which topped more than 1 million kilometers. CTV's Pat Foran has more on how he did it.
Marco Intihar of Claremont owns a 2000 Toyota Sienna van. It's been in the family since new and is affectionately known as Betsy. He recently videoed the odometer as it clicked over to 999,999 kilometers, which is the most it can record.
99999 has been achieved. Woo! Let's hear it for Betsy.
For Intihar, it was a family goal to hit the million mark.
It's unreal. It really is. I think when you do some research, how many vehicles have actually gotten to 1 million kilometers, that aren't big semis or whatever, it's just astounding. Starts up every time first day.
We first met Intihar 4 years ago when his van had just clicked over to 930,000 kilometers.
Bam! Love it. Transmission level looks good.
He says his father believed in following the maintenance schedule closely, especially oil changes.
You just got to give her the love. Don't go past your oil changes.
Another reason we did the story, it's still on its first drivetrain.
It has the original engine and transmission.
For the gang,
Intihar says his parents put on most of the 1 million kilometers driving to polka festivals all over North America.
They would take lots of trips down south, Florida, wherever there was a polka festival, they would go.
To get this kind of mileage, Consumer Reports says start with a reliable vehicle and keep it well maintained.
Routine maintenance is definitely key to longevity. It costs some time in the shop and money for those maintenance items, but it's generally money and time well spent.
Your best bet, follow your owner's manual.
All the fluid changes matter, all the filter changes matter, and it does add up, but it is cheaper than repairs down the line.
As for Intihar, he says his father would be proud to know Betsy made it to 1 million kilometers.
It was just my dad's dream to get to 1 million, and it's done. So I think we're going to gracefully put her out to pasture. Toyota should be proud. That's a pretty impressive thing to have accomplished.
Pat Foran, CTV News.
Still to come, the struggles continue for the Maple Leafs. We'll have more on the Buds' recent losing streak when we return.
A technique first tried on a toddler at Sick Kids Hospital almost 2 decades ago is now being scaled up nationwide.
As our health reporter Pauline Chan tells us, it's aimed at avoiding radiation on a baby's developing brain.
Remember of that.
To be honest, the only thing I remember was like waking up in the morning just to get like the pokes in my Omaya.
CJ Brown was just 2 when he was diagnosed with a lethal brain tumor known as ATRT. And when he didn't respond fully to surgery and chemotherapy, Dr. Annie Huang faced a dilemma. She could use radiation to destroy the tumor in his brain, but she had seen the devastating effects radiation typically had on a young, rapidly developing brain.
They're completely dependent. So we do them a disservice. We've cured their tumor, but we've left them with a life that's not what they should have had.
But she had seen good results in leukemia patients of a different technique, and she hoped she could modify it to get chemotherapy directly to the brain and cerebrospinal fluid.
I was just hoping, to buy them some time.
The technique, using something called an Omaya reservoir, bought CJ not just time, but a healthy, normal childhood.
The kid's looking at you, having lunch, whatever, you pop it and you put the chemo in. So that way they don't have to be anesthetized.
Now they're beginning to use this approach in centers across Canada.
We've now started to extrapolate to other types of cancers that arise in these very young children. So the majority are still going to be ATRT, but we have some other tumors called ETMR, which is somewhat of a different flavor, but also, in fact, more aggressive than ATRT.
Dr. Huang says more sophisticated technology now is allowing them to better identify and track the cancers and their response to the therapy.
Well, it feels good for me to know it helps other kids.
And CJ, now a healthy, cancer-free 20-year-old, is happy his childhood challenges have inspired hope for others. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
In sports, the struggling Maple Leafs were looking to snap their 5-game losing streak, kicking off a road trip in Seattle last night.
Out there with Jared McCann, and Alexiak was jumping. Here's Beniers, scores!
It was another tough outing for the Buds. Anthony Stolar is allowing a goal on the opening shot. The Kraken going on to a 5-2 win. The Leafs will look to turn things around, visiting the Vancouver Canucks tomorrow night.
And turning to the hardcourt, the Raptors return to action tonight, looking to bounce back in Orlando against the Magic.
4 in a row. These are the 2 longest. OG.
Toronto is coming off a 119-92 loss to the New York Knicks Wednesday. That snapped the team's 4-game winning streak. The Raptors are 4th in the East, 3.5 games ahead of 7th place Orlando. Tip-off tonight is at 7:30.
Still to come this hour, a heated rivalry has received the seal of approval from Canada's Prime Minister. Mark Carney walking the red carpet with some of the stars last night. We'll have more when we come back.
Get Toronto's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
The buzz around the Canadian hit TV series Heated Rivalry isn't cooling down anytime soon. Instead, Canada's Prime Minister went publicly this week praising the viral show. With more on this and other headlines, we're joined live by 99.9 Virgin Radio weekday afternoon host Sam East for a weekly segment Chronically Online. Sam, great to see you on this Friday. Mark Carney met with some of the stars of the show yesterday on that red carpet, and he was treated with a special gift.
Yes, so this happened at
a gala in Ottawa. There was a red carpet rollout. Shane Hollander, that's his character on the show, aka Hudson Williams, was on the red carpet with our Prime Minister, and this moment happened right here. Look at that. Gifting our Prime Minister one of these rare Canadian fleeces. There's limited quantity, so people have been scrambling to get these. And you can see it's instantaneous, the laughter between them. Everyone's talking about how overnight our Prime Minister and Shane Hollander from Heated Rivalry became besties. So I think a lot of Heated Rivalry fans, Canadian ones in particular, woke up happy on their morning scroll.
Oh, they're getting up close and personal. I know. I mean, the Prime Minister's smart in this regard, recognizing this is one of the hottest shows out there. But I was curious because if you've seen the show, and Sam, I know you have, I mean, Heated Rivalry, there are many sex scenes. It's very intense. And apparently Rachel Aiello asked him, like, have you seen the show? And the Prime Minister said, yeah, he's on episode 5.
And episode 5 is one of the highest rated episodes of television ever. So I think the Prime Minister knows that it's beyond whatever racy headlines or footage is out there. This is a moment for Canada. This is big. This is a worldwide phenomenon. And as you said off the top, it's showing no signs of slowing down, of cooling down. So it's smart for the Prime Minister to tap into this. He even called Hudson Williams his new bestie. And you know, it looks like they're getting very close.
Hey, I think he loves the fact that, you know, the book was written by a Canadian. It's produced in Canada. The actors are Canadian. So, yes, great moment for Canada. Let's talk about another hot topic because it's so cold out there. The high demand for Harry Styles' residency tickets, already breaking records, but fans, they really want something done about the ticket prices.
Well, you know, if you're a Harry Styles fan, I really feel for you because this is residency style, meaning he's not going on the typical world tour that visits, you know, most major cities throughout the world. He wants you to come to him. So Madison Square Garden in particular has 30 shows. And Ticketmaster confirmed this is the highest demand for any residency style show of all time. 11.5 million people signed up for pre-sale, and there's only, you know, just under 600,000 seats available at Madison Square Garden over the course of those 30 shows. So high demand, limited quality, but people are upset. All I'm going to say is 2 weeks before Harry's residency, Olivia Dean is playing the same venue. I paid $196 for a row 9 floor seat, no platinum pricing. And she spoke up about the resale market and made a change. Artists need to do better. Someone else said, I've loved Harry for 15 years, but no man will put me in credit card debt, which, hey, fair thing to say. Ticketmaster execs confirmed to me that the pricing for the Together Together tour was all set up and predetermined by Harry and team. They said they understand tickets are extremely expensive, but there will be no changes as Harry's team set the pricing. So, you know, it's fair, this disgruntled response from fans, because the artists do have the power. Olivia Dean, who has just really been breaking onto the scene over the past year in a mainstream way, she spoke up, she advocated for her fans. Ticketmaster matched that energy. Harry Styles has this incredible presence, obviously dominating with ticket sales. He could have also said something to maybe have some impact on those ticket prices. It's getting really unaffordable for a lot of fans.
Well, you never know. Outcry may prompt some change or at least some more concert dates, maybe in Toronto. Sam East, really appreciate it. Nice to chat with you. You can catch her on 99.9 Virgin Radio in the afternoons. Take care.
Have a good weekend.
You too.
We now know what the most streamed movie of 2025 was, and it probably won't come as a surprise. According to ratings from Nielsen, K-pop Demon Hunters was the clear winner for the year, even though it only debuted in June. Looking at figures for just the U.S., the animated fantasy musical was watched for more than 20.6 billion minutes, or around 207 million times. Among other achievements, it's also up for Best Animated Feature and Best Original Song at the Oscars.
Coming up, Winterlicious is back. We'll have more on the kickoff to one of the city's largest and most popular culinary events. Stay with us.
Foodies Unite as one of the city's largest culinary events returns.
Winterlicious is back and it kicks off today. More than 240 local eateries in our city are offering special menus with 3-course meals listed at a fixed price. Those prices range from $20 to $55 for lunch and $25 to $75 for dinner. You can find a full listing of the restaurants taking part on the city's website. And if you're not looking to brave the cold on this particular Friday, Winterlicious runs through to February 12th.
There you go, trying some of the city's hottest restaurants on one of the coldest days.
Yeah.
Anything indoors really is a great activity for today, but it does get a little better as we head throughout the end of our week, which is today and into the weekend, but we're still not quite really staying at a seasonal point for the foreseeable future, so just plan ahead and plan accordingly. A little light lake effect snow here and there throughout the day right across the GTA, but nothing significant, a dusting at most. It is still very cold, so prompting those cold warnings across a good portion of the Golden Horseshoe in towards London and out through Kingston as well. We are right now sitting at -13, feeling like -22, and it is going to be chilly right through to the end of the day, but at least the wind is light and at least there is some sunshine. We get a little better into the weekend, but not by much. The closest to seasonal we are going to be is Tuesday next week, and that is just for one day.
Whew. Well, that's it for us today on CTV News at noon. Remember, you can get Toronto's breaking news all day long on CP24 and our website, ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Jessica Smith and the whole team here, have a pleasant afternoon. I'm Michelle Dubé.
I'm Natalie Johnson. Be sure to join us later for CTV News at 5 and 6 o'clock.
See you then.